Okay, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Amateur League VOD review. My name is Freedom Potatoes. I'm a Diamond mid laner for Team Oversoul Esports Incarnate, and today I'm going to be walking you through our first match in the Titan Vanquisher League. So like the previous video I made, this is a match in a Masters 100 LP capped league. We're kind of, Diamond-ish level team. And yeah, I'm going to walk you through the early game, looking at kind of what I could have done better, and then tell the rest of the story of the game, the mid game, the late game, talk a little bit about macro, a bit about team fight decision making, and then get on to the next one. So getting right into it here in game one, we've got a pretty heavy zone control type of draft, a lot of AoE on the ground abilities, but fairly short range overall, playing around a brand jungle first pick as kind of a flex pick. On the other side, the enemy team has a very strong team fighting and pick comp with strong engage off the Jarvan, Rakan, and Ashe, and a lot of follow-up damage from Corki and Rumble. This was a pretty challenging game, although it was close at times. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the early game so we can see how it went. So the early landing as Corki is pretty uninteractive. Unless he really steps up quite far, it's hard for me to land poke. Once we hit level 6, I am able to exert a lot more pressure by starting my combo with my ult and my wall. But he also gains access to his rockets, which let him farm from a safe distance and make the lane pretty uninteractive. So yeah, getting through most of the early game, really not a lot has happened. We're fairly even in farm and such. Yeah, so let's go to the next point. Now here things get a little interesting. So the team is already fairly far down. I think Rumble was he took Ignite, and our top laner brought TP, which he kind of called into question in Champ Select, and I think that made the matchup a lot harder for him. But anyway, Corki finally decides to get aggressive on me because he has a support behind him, but I have my support and my jungler show up. I'm able to live without even getting my egg popped and finally get our team's first kill on the map thanks to some good rotations. And then I would normally look to take a reset here, but we saw the enemy jungler on Grub, so I was able to get a shove in, and even though I'm low, I still have egg, so we decided to look for this play. Our top laner nearly dies, but he gets out. I kind of throw my stun a little too early there, and I'm playing things pretty slow because I'm so low on health, so I try to stand off the rest of the team. And we start things off with a kill on the Jarvan, but then that Jarvan ult plus Rumble ult combo is really strong, and they're able to trade one back. I think our top laner didn't need to go back in there. We would have probably killed Rumble anyway, but we end up with a 3-for-2 trade, which is pretty good for us overall. I'm now 3-0-1, which puts me in a pretty good spot. However, things do get kind of challenging because the enemy team has such a pick comp. I'm kind of scared to play up a lot of this laning phase, and that makes it hard for me to push my lead as much as I wanted to. Also, I TP'd back with I just realized how low I was when I TP'd back there. That's definitely a blunder for me because just a little bit of Corki poke will mean that I have to reset again. Anyway, I think things stay pretty uneventful in front of me because, like I said, hard to really walk up when Jarvan and Ashe and Rakan have a lot of threat. So this is a pretty significant mistake that I make. We see that the enemy Rumble is top, and he's most of their kills at this point in the game. So we think we can potentially contest Dragon, but our Jhin is really far away, all the way down in the bottom side of the map. I'm trying to use this new draw tool that I have. Yeah, so he's quite far away, and the jungle and support are split for me. So I have a pretty isolated approach in. And as I walk, I try to get a little bit of damage on Rakan, make him blow some cooldowns, so we can force our way through the choke and maybe think about contesting the dragon. But there's a few things here that I failed to consider. One is that Corki has package. The other is that the dragon is already quite low. Whatever I do here, I'm not really able to impact this play. It's basically jungler jumps the wall and steals, or nothing happens. So I walk up too far trying to make space for our team, but as soon as they get the dragon done, they just turn on me with the Corki package, and since he's unstoppable, he is right through my stun. I don't have wall, and even though I have flash, I don't think it's going to get me out here unless I can make it to that wall, so I get egged and eventually drop. Team does do a pretty good job of trading some kills back, but then Rumble shows up, and it ends up being yeah, we lose 2 for 2, or we get a third kill, but we lost the dragon. I think that put the enemy team on soul point already. So the dragon stacking going pretty heavily in their favor. This is kind of an ambiguous quality play. So this time we're playing the dragon play a lot more grouped. We have like a pretty solidified front against the enemy team. This is to try and deny them soul point, or to deny them soul. And so we've got me playing over this wall, fishing for some stuns, and we do land the stun, which starts the fight off onto Rumble. So he has to pop Zanya's, which does negate a lot of the like pick that we had on him. And then the fight like really starts with Rakan jumping in on our Brand and charming me. Actually, you know what? It doesn't charm Brand. But we get like very split in our focus here. Like we have Trundle in the back line. Rumble has died, which is good for us. But Rakan is able to get our 2 of our squishies grouped together, and then Corki package comes through and deals a ton of damage as we're like pressed up against this wall. Brand he flashes away from the dragon and like has to walk back in for the steal, but it's really tight, and the enemy team does barely get the smite off a little just in time. And so we do take down Corki, but even though we've got those initial kills, like we're unable to really find more. Like Rakan grabs the sneaky kill, and then since we're all hitting different people, like some of us are hitting Rakan, some of us are hitting Jarvan. I think we probably could have gotten both of them if the focus had been a little better. But it's still like a 1 fight overall, but we don't really have like position on the map to take much more than I think just this mid turret. Now here, the enemy team's pushing mid. They take down the turret that was like basically already done. And we're trying to set up vision for Baron, but our support Maokai gets caught by Jarvan looking for vision. It nearly dies. I try to walk down and help, but I miss the stun because Jarvan like actually walked back. I don't know if he messed up his combo or if that was deliberate, but and then as Maokai flashes out, that gives Jarvan an in like to catch me in the ult, and then the Rumble ult comes down, and we take a really heavily losing fight here. I think it's ultimately 3-0, and that leads into the other team getting Baron. So that's a case where I need to just like not compensate for someone else overstepping. I don't really have a way to save them. We don't have enough vision for me to know what's right. We did get a bit of a push mid, which is not so bad, but I mean, losing Baron is definitely the worst end of that trade. Here, our Trundle had killed Corki top, and then they sent several people up to contest him there. So even though he had just died, we see Elder spawning, and we think we can rush it as it's coming up. But I think a pretty crucial mistake is we don't have any vision of like this side of the jungle. So we only really will see them if they come from the mid lane side, but they have like Hex Gate. So they have multiple angles of approach they can come from. And I'm trying to stay a little split from the team because I mean, I don't want us to get AoE nuked. I could potentially be doing a little more damage to it by like using E, but here I start thinking about zone control on the Rumble because he's one of the most threatening members of their team. And as they show up, I think another possible issue is our Maokai's hitting the dragon when like he's built support. He doesn't really do very much damage, and I think having him as a body to lock down anyone approaching, as well as throwing saplings into bushes to stall and get vision of the enemy approach would be a lot more helpful. Even though the call is to rush it, like Maokai damage I think is pretty irrelevant there. So we pop the Maokai ult to try and get them off the drag, but Rumble is able to flash over my stun, which is a really good flash from him. He has the Banshees, which tanks the Maokai ult, and then he gets right on top of me. At the same time, we see Jarvan coming from bot lane, or from the bottom side of River, which he got to surprisingly fast because he was just top, so I think Hex Gates let him get there really quickly. And our focus just gets really split because like Maokai and I are trying to lock down the Rumble, who's dealing tons of damage. But meanwhile, Jarvan's threatening the steal on Elder. Jin's trapped in the pit, and it's all a big mess. Like Rakan catches 2 of us, and even though I flash away, there's like nowhere safe for me to really go. So I die, and then like we have to kind of scatter again. Eventually, we get the Rumble, but I think that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, enemy team gets Elder. And I do have to shout out our ADC for getting a cool snipe on the Ashe at the end of the play, which you know, helps things out a little bit, but then he gets jumped by Corki and dies. So as we're defending, Rakan looks for this like flank engage, and I get a pretty nice stun. Like I cancel him out of his W. Jin lands the follow-up route and then with the wall we just lock him down and kill him. So that's one more Elder buff down. And a little bit of pressure relieved from us, which is fantastic. Kill score is still pretty even, so even though they've got Soul, and I think they are like a little ahead overall, this is still pretty winnable for us. But what happens next here is a little messier, which is that I call for Maokai to toss a sapling over this wall here because he's got great range, and we saw Jarvan walk that way. So, you know, I'm worried about Jarvan looking for like an EQ into ult over this wall to kill us or pressure us off the turret, and it'd just be nice to have vision. But when I call for that, both the support and AD walk there, and yeah, Jin actually walks in first and gets caught by the Jarvan, and with the follow-up damage from Elder, he just gets nuked. So I think that was a bad call from our ADC player. Unfortunately, I do have to give a pretty direct call out. I specifically called for sapling, and he checked face first, and we lose him for it. So now the defense got a lot harder because one of our ranged sources of damage is dead. I try to wall Corki in there, but it doesn't quite work, and the siege continues, but is like mostly uneventful. Then we have this Baron fight. So Trundle had killed Rumble, I think, off in the top lane, and we're trying to take advantage of that by forcing Baron before he respawns because he doesn't have teleport. But I think this is a mistake from me, where I'm trying to zone Jarvan, but he can kind of just like walk around the pit. So the zoning is like pretty ineffective for me. And like the team is hitting Baron, but we're not doing it that fast because we're scared of the steal, we're scared of the poke from the other side. And so once again, we're like fairly split. And then Jarvan's actually able to take that. I think because he has the shield from Kanik and his W, he is able to just like, get through the portal. And so this presents like a very interesting dilemma for us, where some of us want to finish the Baron, some of us want to turn on the Jarvan. I think like Jin's actually an ult, which I think is what prompted the Jarvan to take that portal. But he gets comboed by the Ashe ult, and the Jarvan and just goes down. We trade Baron, so we're decently happy with that. But then a fight breaks out. I think I could have done a better job like watching my flank, because once Rakan shows up here, like that poses a pretty big threat. But we're really sandwiched. We have Jarvan on one flank, Rakan on the other, and like Ashe coming down from up top. Probably our best course of action here is actually to fight through the Ashe, but that's not what happens. I get caught by Rakan, and our brand gets caught, and even though we get like some damage off, we just get killed. And Ashe dies, so that probably was the right way to walk if we could have gone there. Might have saved us in the fight a little bit. So we get Baron, but we lose most of the team. And then here we've got a fight for Elder. So we chunk Rakan out beforehand, but we don't really have a great way in. They have a lot of poke, and the team gets like very split here, because I was looking for poke over the wall on Jarvan to try and kind of chunk him before any fight might happen. But I think this is a mistake for me again, where I should have regrouped towards the top side of the pit with my team so we can walk in together, because Maokai and Trundle like look for a play onto the enemy backline, but meanwhile Brand and I are like hitting the front line, and we don't do a lot of damage. He has Kanak Rikon, which is an incredibly strong item. And so the team dies to like Corki package and Rumble, and everything is just a mess here. I have to choose to walk out, flash away, and then Jin looks for a cheeky flash steal on the Elder, which I have to respect, but it doesn't work out, so we lose him too. It's just me against the enemy team marching down towards our Nexus with Elder. And I mean, that is pretty much the game. Like, I try to stall. I maybe could have given this inhib, but I think one way or another, I need to stall for 20 seconds basically for us to have any more damage, and that doesn't work out, so we lose the game off of that. Not a lot I can do once they have 5 members with Elder marching down mid. So that's game 1. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into game number 2. So for game number 2, we've decided to first pick the Maokai, and we've got a bit of a poke thing going on with the Ezreal and Xerath. But still plenty of frontline with the other 3 picks. We've got a little more hard engage tools now that we have like Bard ult. But we are very magic damage heavy once again, with only Ezreal as our AD, and even he does quite a lot of magic damage for an AD. Luckily, the enemy team does not have a particularly tanky team, so that's a bit less of a concern this time around. So getting into the early game, right off the bat, I think the game doesn't start so well for me. The enemy team is invading for vision, level 1, and I blow nearly half my mana pool, just trying to get a first strike proc and mana flow band, which makes my lane start off harder than it needs to be. And even from that point on, I focus a little too much on trying to harass my lane opponent and not enough on farming. So like there I'm on CD and I have to give up a CS because I don't want to take a bad trade, and then I miss my Q shortly after that. And I think this is like a pretty big problem throughout much of the laning phase. I ended up like, I think like 30 CS down by 14 minutes or something, even though like Xerath should outrange Orianna and do pretty well into her. Now granted, a good Orianna can mitigate that in the early game. I think a lot of Xerath's advantage comes through later on, but it's yeah, still like a lot of unforced errors on how I'm throwing these skill shots. Anyway, despite things looking pretty bad for me in the early game, the Orianna gets a little too aggressive here, trying to punish my low health and mana pools, and so I'm able to thread a stun through the minions, and then our jungler comes in and we're able to clean up the kill. So first blood onto our jungler, not bad, and then he helps me shove out. Yeah, so decent start. And this Orianna is going to Comet with W max build to be able to poke, trade poke with long range mages a little bit. This is just another example of like me throwing out kind of bad trades. Like I insta pop the Q there for no real reason. I think that's another kind of like mental stack overwhelmed. I know she's gonna Q me because I stopped a W, and I try to trade like some additional damage back, but I neither dodge her Q nor charge my Q enough to actually hit her. So just yet another example of subpar trades coming out for me this game. I almost died to her ulti, but managed to live. But like I'm kind of forced to try and collect this wave at really low HP, which is incredibly risky. Doesn't turn out like the worst for me, but I still do drop a lot of farm again due to bad resets and bad usage of my abilities in lane. So here we invade the enemy Vi's red, and I think we have enough lockdown that this should be a doable kill. Like we land that kill, but in this, there's a bit of a miscommunication here where I throw my stun off the Maokai route, but he also ults. So we lay our CC pretty poorly, and then she's able to ult in on me during my ult, which like, that's a blunder for me to use my ult while she's in range to use hers, because it cancels mine. That's a big cooldown from me gone. And then she has Q to get away. Meanwhile, our Bard support gets ulted by the Orianna, who's able to pick up the kill. And then we have a little unfortunate interaction with the Maokai Q and my Q. Yeah, I think it's important with like an ability like that, I think, for displacement to call out cooldowns from both ends, so we know when to hold or when to use it. Yeah, and then I also like throw my E and W at the exact same time here, which lets Orianna dodge both abilities with her flash and get out. So we end up losing support, and we don't even get the camp that we were looking for off that play. So the game state's like pretty behind now. We're down 6 kills. We've lost bot tower and top tower. Objective bounties are online for us. And so I'm trying to trade a little pressure on bot side because the enemy team had just committed a lot up to Rift Herald. And I comment chat here like, oh, they can use empowered recalls to get back on the map fast. But I nevertheless underestimated the speed with which they could get on the map. I kind of thought that the support and jungler were the ones in danger here, but actually I'm the one who was in like the real danger. So like we see the Herald go down, and I think this is partly me not recognizing like how the timing on that animation, because I try to greed this cannon, and then Vi's able to just Q in and ult me, and they have enough follow-up that I drop, which means the dragon goes over for free, and I get nothing for that. So that's a big overextension for me again. I thought that support and jungle were kind of going to be the targets, but it's a lot easier for them to pick me because I'm immobile and not tanky. Yeah, so pretty big misstep from me there. Here we find the Vi invading our red buff, and I try to actually pop ult on the Varus because he gets hit by a Maokai sapling. But he does have like a lot of speed with the Cloud Soul map, so I actually hit 0 ults on him, which feels really bad to burn that one. I probably could have gotten more value out of it on Vi. And like she Qs over the wall, and we have to commit a lot onto her for this chase. We do eventually get the kill, and then we have to play slow because of the Orianna ult threat comboed with the Rumble ult. So I think ultimately we kind of just back off. Or no, we do get this bounty, but it's like really scary there when we, yeah, both support and jungle get hit by the Orianna ult, but we get the dragon. We almost get 2 kills off a great stun from Bard, which yeah leads into a kill for the Ezreal going in there, and then I think that's all we get. Is yeah the one bounty and the kill on the Ashe. So then we see the enemy team start bearing up while I'm catching a bot wave, so I TP up, and they do it pretty fast, but it's not done yet, and I'm able to land a lot of ult shots onto the Varus to chunk him out of the fight. And yeah, so things start off pretty good for us. We're able to force them off, but I think the Bard ult's like a little hasty. I don't think it actually hits anyone, and all we get is the crab and some prio on mid. But then, unfortunately here, our Ezreal takes a kind of greedy pathing, like really close to this mid wall, and he gets ulted by Orianna over there. Like yeah, his health just got completely chunked, and she's gonna like flash over to finish the job and kill him. So off a pretty good play, a little bit of disrespect means we end up losing 1-0, and this might turn into even more little plays if I recall correctly. Yeah, so then they invade onto our blue, and we think we might be able to like pincer them on their escape. Or no, we get the blue, but now the fight starts. Yeah, so we land some damage from the Mord onto Ori, but I just get jumped by Vi. And like Mord takes someone into Death Realm, so really Vi should be 1v3 here, but I think the Maokai goes for an ult on like their whole team. Yeah, on the remainder of their team, when there's no one to follow up on that damage while Vi is just melting me. So I think here this is, maybe I need to calm better, maybe he needs to pay better attention, but I think something needs to be done about Vi because Mord's in Death Realm. Like, we can't really do anything until he's out of there to the rest of those players anyway. Yeah, so Vi follows with Flash, and I just end up solo dying to her, even though Bard does all he can to try and help me. We do get the Rumble, and these 2 bot laners are really low, so we get 2 flashes with the Bard Q. It would have been a double stun, which would have been phenomenal. Like, that would have really changed the game for us. And then we make a call to kind of try to chase, but Ashe is able to kite pretty well. I'm pinging to try and see if Bard can, like, E for the chase, but Maokai's looking on the Varus, and then we get, like, they're able to kind of regroup and go back in on us, and we lose 2 in exchange for the Ashe, so after all is said and done, I think that's 2 kills for 4 deaths for our team. So pretty subpar. Yeah, let me watch that like one more time just to see if there's anything I could have done about like getting jumped by the Vi. I mean, yeah, it's really just I can't look for that play in the first place. I walk. So this is something that happens a couple times, like in lane and in fights like this, Azereth, where like me looking for the swallow up damage is not worth, like the damage from my W isn't going to change the fight here, but me putting myself at risk for Vi going in is definitely going to make a difference because I die a bit. Yeah, so that play eventually leads to them getting Baron, and while I'm trying to defend top here, I get Ashe ulted, which turns into an Ori ult, and she's quite fed, so I just get one tapped. I think the main thing I can do there is just try to take like less predictable pathings, try to shoot my skill shots from out of vision a little more so Ashe doesn't have such an easy time landing that ult, but I mean once the ult comes down on me, there's obviously nothing. But we do get a bit of a gift back, because while they're sieging bot, the enemy Orianna goes too deep for vision, and we're able to throw Bard and Maokai ult. So the Bard ult, even though it makes Maokai ult not hit the Ori, I think it's still fine because the ult goes onto the rest of the backline, and then I'm able to land the stun. Ezreal ult comes through. We burn everything onto her because she is one of the, yeah, she's like the key target. So we get 2 kills there. I think that's the end of the play, but huge swing for us to get her Medjay stacks down and be able to collect farms safely instead of being under constant threat. Next up, we have this play where, yeah, that turns into like a fight bot where our Mord ults the Vi, and even though our bot lane's chunked, I'm able to land these ult shots down onto Varus and chunk him low, and I think Bard just finishes the kill with like Q and autos. Yeah, so we get yet another shutdown. However, because we committed so much to bot side, we're not able to stop this Rumble. Rumble is still quite fed this game. Yeah, like he has a Banshee's Veil, so I really don't do that much damage to him. He flashes in on me even and has a good attempt at a sidestep, but I do land the stun, which lets me get out. I dodge the arrow by walking towards him. And yeah, so we do end up losing the inhib, but we also trade Rumble, who is very fed, which, you know, that's good for us. Yeah, so then we catch Ashe looking for vision on our top side. The Bard ult misses, but he drops a great ward on the blast gun, so it takes her a few extra autos to get out of there. And then we're able to follow through like decently, but she still has her flash, which allows her to live. But we get her sums, we get her ult, and then Varus and Varus and Vi are trying to compensate and help her out, which means he gets caught by the Maokai and goes down. With Baron spawning, that's a huge pick for us. But we do have to answer the Orianna down in the bottom lane, which, yeah, delays our ability to go for yeah, because we're not able to get onto it right away. Because we're not able to get onto it right away, they go for it. But now I've got to realize and I'm shooting my ult shots a little too fast here. Like, we have Bard right there to provide slow and stun, and like, yeah, so I think I whiffed 2 shots there. When I should have probably been able to land like all of them, which might even be like an instant kill. Still, I get a lot of damage on to the bot lane. We're able to follow up and kill the Ashe, and then Vi goes in really deep here. Like, we've got a 4-on-1 on her, so even though Mord dies, yeah, she's in too deep, and we're able to take her out. The Bard ult buys some time, but we don't really notice because there's so many bodies in this choke. We don't really, or at least I didn't see the Orianna sneak this Q in for a really big ult, which gets us incredibly low. Yeah, Bard dies, I die, and it's only thanks to some fancy footwork heroics from Ezreal that we're able to survive this fight. He gets the Orianna, and then Maokai and Rumble kind of agree to go their separate ways. I think Rumble wins that fight, so it's good for us that he backed out a little. So yeah, neither team gets Baron there, so they go back onto it, and like they're playing in a very similar pattern. We get a stun on Varus, so I try to ult him. We're burning a lot for it, and then my ult gets canceled by the Ashe, and we have to look for like Orianna because she's trying to play a cheeky vision spot. She whiffs ult up here. I think she's trying to combo with the Vi ulti, but they don't get it down. So even though Vi jumps Ezreal, I'm able to stun her, and she goes down for free. And on the other side of the fight, we've got the tanks zoning the other two of the other squishies, and Ezreal just barely wins this 1v1 with Varus. That's like probably just like a level diff because he's level 16 versus 15. And so that turns into Baron for us. Yay! And off the secured Baron, we're able to start pushing. And Mord gets caught 1v2 in the top lane, but he's actually just popping off here. Now that the game has gone late, like Orianna fails the flash and he gets the first kill on her, and he's able to basically clean up the Vi too. She has to run away, and then we start looking for the bot lane under their Nexus turrets, and as I just start firing off these ults, like I'm fed now. I was behind all game because of some bad plays in lane and the mid game, but at this point I actually deal a ton of damage and I'm able to pick up the double kill, and off that we're able to push through and end the game. Yeah, we were down 9,000 gold at one point this game, so it is absolutely bonkers that we're able to pull out a win in the end here. But yeah, we hang on and take the series to 1-1. Okay, so now let's get into game number 3. This game we decided to first pick the Azir because we thought we'd ban most of their mid laners counters to it, but we kind of forgot about his LeBlanc, and that ends up being a pretty rough matchup for me. We also run a Senna Cho'Gath bot lane, which is a style of picks that we like to utilize. The Senna plus TK, Senna plus Cho. We've done Senna Sion before. Yeah, I think it has some great flexibility. So we got a pretty frontline heavy team with a lot of range as well with the Azir and Senna, at least if the game goes late. Enemy team is once again like fairly pick oriented. Ashe and LeBlanc can both set up picks a lot, but they've got some like decent team fighting potential with Renata and Lilia as well. Yeah, so let's get into the gameplay now. This is not a matchup that I'm super familiar with, this Azir versus LeBlanc one. So there's definitely some messy plays here. Kind of the first like key play of the game, I think, is our jungler goes quite deep into the enemy jungle for looking to invade the enemy Lilia's Gromp because he gets some vision of her. I think this is a bit of an overstep because we don't see the bot lane like at all. They're off map. I mean, we're not a just shows here, but the invade play was already happening before that. So with no knowledge of that, they could have easily collapsed on him and been on him already. But he is like okay for now. Then Ashe shows up, so he has to get out. And I try to move first just to make sure LeBlanc can't contribute too much to the play. Renata luckily misses her Q there, which gives him the potential to get out. But like, yeah, now I take a really bad trade because I was trying to compensate down. Like LeBlanc can just dodge my soldiers basically, and then they get first blood on the Trundle. So I don't know if we got the camp or not, but we give up first blood, and I go from like pretty even in lane to quite behind, and that is immediately punished by LeBlanc really well. Even though I dodge her W, she lands the Q and the chains on me, and I drop kill in my own lane. Okay. Something good does happen for us here though, where we spot Lilia out on the grubs. She's already done one of them, and instead of looking for the kill, we decide to just get one of the grubs. Now, that is nice for us because it denies them one grub, but I have to take a really long path back to lane here because LeBlanc has hit level 6, and I can't afford to take a trade with her in the jungle. So yeah, I do lose out on some CS, some XP, some gold, and with the grub, she has enough damage to grab a plating too. So I think in terms of gold, like that was pretty positive for them actually. And I also like go for some plating or for some poke instead of really focusing on CS, which is a mistake. Again, I need to play like for my own gold income here because I am pretty much the only like DPS on the team. Senna kinda, but she goes like a lethality build in this case, which I'm not sure if it's right, but it is what it is. I am not familiar with Senna builds this patch. So this is just a little example of like, even though I'm pretty behind into the LeBlanc, I can actually like trade decently onto her when she isn't able to W away from my soldiers. There's like a little interaction there where I think I get rooted like with my soldier just outside the tether range because I think I actually could have killed her, but I miss out on like 2 autos due to the root. Otherwise, I would have been able to probably flash W and auto her for a kill. Yeah, sadly, I'm not able to pick that up. Might be a difference in how I have to throw my Q. If you drain the night, just like barely dodge that Lilius roll seed, which probably would have meant a kill on me if she landed that. My kill here. Yeah. So LeBlanc and I continue to trade in the mid lane. She, another annoying interaction. If I try to go in on her, she can just juke back and dodge my ult. But she has no W here, so my jungler is able to come in. Good pillar forces her back, and then I have to stand back and collect the kill when she W's back. She was dying one way or another. I'm happy to get the kill. So still going okay for me, but team's overall behind. The Jax is like beating the Ornn up pretty bad because we had kind of a misunderstanding of the matchup in draft. So I think Jax is like 3-0 or 4-0 again. Pretty rough matchup going on up there. And this is like a big blunder for me that happens here. So we see them taking dragon. We think we can look for a fight. I look for a shuffle play here, but I take a bad flash angle here, and really I don't think I needed to flash at all. With no vision in the bush, I don't know exactly where I'm looking to go to hit as many people as possible. And I think I also like, since I'm trying to simultaneously reposition my cursor, so I'm trying to flash up here but ult this way. And I think I do mess up the micro a little bit because I think if I flash like just a little bit higher, like right here instead of down here, this ult hits Ashe and she gets shuffled into our team, and that changes the play completely. But as it is, she's like just barely outside of range of that soldier, and Renata burns the flash to get away. So I only hit Lilia, and I would have hit Lilia regardless of whether or not I flashed. So it's a waste of flash. Like, I should be saving that to get out after going in this deep. And another thing I should be accounting for is, tracking enemy summoners, tracking enemy ultimates, because if Ashe or Renata has ult, this play can go very badly for me. And as it turns out, Ashe has ult. I get hit, and I go down very quickly. So the fight just goes horribly. Lilia hits a Drowsy on 2 of us, and what looked like a potentially good flank for me turns into a disaster. I think we're not able to get anything out of it. And Jax kills Ornn in the top lane. So pretty disaster. So things have gone a bit later here. In the top lane, I'm just like fighting LeBlanc. I get shifted up by her W back again. Tough matchup for me, and then I fail the flash away from her W and get killed under my own turret. Just a micro mistake, and also I think I'm just like contesting the wave harder than I need to. Like she's gonna push it into me, and even if she doesn't, it's too risky. Like I'm gonna miss out more farm, more XP by being up here. So I need to just let her like crash the wave into me, into my turret, so I can play around that, and then I would probably be okay. But yeah, instead I overstep and die tragically. And then like the rest of the team kind of tries to compensate, but I think they get another kill, and like while Jax is splitting bot, we try to get him, but he gets away 1v2. So it's all bad, and Ashe is pushing mid. This game really got pretty disastrous after that dragon play. It kind of feels like a do nothing and lose, even though we were attempting to make plays. Whoa, cool effects. Yeah, so then the Ornn, and I think that we can maybe catch Renata when she's going for vision on our top jungle, but she's able to walk away. And Ashe ult sets up a play down bottom lane, because our support in jungle, we're trying to take Krugs to get some gold back. I think that's a little like too risky. I think we can't afford, like, they're fed enough that we just can't do that. We need to just collect waves as they come to us. It feels really bad, but like the risk reward factor for Krugs is unfortunately not quite there. So that's like 2 kills for them, and Jax gets pressure on top because Ornn and I were looking for the play mid. Yeah, the macro is just totally in shambles at this point. And then I try to look mid here as Ornn's ulting, but I for whatever reason throw my Q when I should be like waiting to look for, you know, a shuffle play off the Ornn ult. If we're going to do any sort of miracle play, it would be right here when he lands that ult, except he only lands it on 1, which means there's really not even that much follow-up we can do, and the Renata ult denies any hope of chasing. So then Jax just gets that top turret, which is, yeah, putting them even farther ahead. And then they end up getting Soul, they get Baron, they're pushing our Nexus here. We're just so behind they can throw their wallets at us, and like, yeah, LeBlanc just one-shots Seta, and I get Ashe ulted and die, and they win the game off that, which feels pretty bad. I don't know. I think there was potential for this game to be winnable, but there were issues in draft. There was the early invade, which I think I responded to poorly. I needed to play a little more selfish at a lot of points this game and a little more slow. Yeah, Azir's still something that I'm still trying to improve on, so hopefully I'll be back better next time. This was a, pretty tough series. Could have easily been a 2-0. Felt really good to have that comeback in game 2, but it is what it is. I think, you know, tough losses like this are always something we can learn a lot from. So I like to look on the bright side, and yeah, I think we'll be back much better next time we play these guys and in future weeks. So if you like that review, you know, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you for some solo queue in another day or two.